Good morning and welcome to the Monday Morning Marketing Podcast. I'm Esther.
And I'm still Melanie.
And today we're joined by Victoria Taylor of Victoria Taylor UK, experienced consultant who works with brands on their audience, customer, employee and brand experience. Welcome, Vicky. Sorry.
Hey, thank you for having me.
That's quite an introduction there, Victoria. You've built up quite a reputation and a background now. Tell us, how did you start?
Crikey. So I started my own business maybe like nearly 10 years now, in my own consultancy. And a lot of that then kind of relied around social media and marketing. But naturally, customer experience was something that always came into it. You know, it was always about the person at the end of social media. And it developed. I ended up working with lots of different brands around different areas of, working around their customers and their employees. And then as a brand as a whole. So it really has developed over the last sort of 10 years. And, naturally, we've got the digital world and we've got the physical world. And those two worlds very much collide in experience. So digital is still a very big element of it, but it is customer experience as a whole. That's a snapshot.
And that's it for today. No. So like you were saying there, at the end of the day, social media is all about the person at the other end. These days we see so many people just sell. What would be your advice to businesses just starting out? A lot of our audience are small businesses. A lot of them are, maybe just starting out or just
early years.
Yeah, early years. What would be your advice? Because they're seeing all these big guys just sell. So give us some top tips.
Because we barely started the podcast and you're demanding top tips already.
I'm very demanding.
Whiskey ladies, hang on. So I would just say that, people, and first of all, remember that they are people, and that everything that you do within business, whether it's social media, digital marketing, PR, whatever you're doing, your business relies on people. Ultimately, if you don't have people, you don't have a business. So we have to remember that the people are people first and foremost. They're not just customers. And if we treat them as customers, as in we're continuously selling to them, then we're not appealing to the person. So I think a really good thing is to remember that if you're a person and you have interests, your audiences have interests too. They have things that they like, things that they dislike. So you really need to learn to understand your people, and that a lot of content is actually in conversation, not just the content that you produce, but the conversations that you have. So if you're a brand, you need to be a human brand. You need to be engaging, conversing, having conversations, and really talking to people as human beings, because that's what they are.
So, Victoria, when it comes to experience, like you're explaining there, is it the same thing as customer service?
No. The customer service in general is reactive. Yeah. So it tends to be, when you're problem solving, or it can be proactive, but customer service does tend to be reactive. You're serving a customer need. Customer experience is everything. So it's in the conversation that we're having now. You might come off this podcast and think she was a bit of an idiot, or you might come off it and think she was nice, or so I'm creating an experience with you here in this conversation. When you pick up the phone and you have a conversation on the phone with a client, that's experience. How you treat your suppliers, that's experience. How you smile at someone, that's experience. How you engage is experience. So it's much more all-encompassing than just customer service.
Sounds exhausting.
It is. It's so exhausting. It is. But you know what? First and foremost, all of us are in the experience business. Secondary comes what we do. And we all have to be stages of experience, because that's what differentiates us from anybody else that, that might offer the same service as us. If you have a good experience with me, but there's another experienced consultant that you don't, the likelihood is that you're going to choose me. So it really is time for us to be really human and show who we are. And if we're not very good humans, then we need to get better at being good humans, So
point number one.
Point number one.
So this is yet another job that a sole trader has to embrace and take on. is there, do you need to have qualifications, or, is there sort of a download or something, or is it just stuff you're just meant to know? I mean, how can we help the people who are listening to the podcast with this?
Yeah, I think, do you know what? It is complex and it is complicated. As far as downloads go, I do have a free download. It's an ebook that will help people with their customer experience. It's like it's just under 50 pages. It's free.
Just a small one then.
Yeah, completely free.
Bit of light reading.
A little bit of light reading, but it will help people with their sort of their initial experiences that they're creating when people don't know them. It's kind of a pre-experience, so it's a good place to start. And you know what? Just going out there and having conversations and learning and listening, what better way to learn about people than to listen to people and to go into their worlds? Yes, we are business owners, but we have to be proactive in being people. There is so much you can do with customer experience. Like, I could delve into so many strategies, but I think if you're asking for the basics, it is really going out there and spending time getting to know people. People want to know that you care about them before they care about you. So it's really important to go out there and become that people person. If you're not a people person, well, you're probably not really in business, are you? So, I think that's probably a really good basic way to start.
And okay, so that sounds like a something that would come more easily to extroverts than introverts. So, what can introverts do to become more of a people person? Because they like people, but in small doses.
Yeah, I think that's making it work for you and knowing what your limits are. So I might come across as a complete extrovert, and I actually think I do when I'm in this environment, but actually I think I'm an introverted extrovert or an extroverted introvert. I really value time on my own, and I actually really need it because I am constantly in that environment where I'm talking to people. I need that alone time and that solace and quiet time. So I think it's knowing what your limits are, and then we don't have to be on video. We can engage through written content, through visual content, and we can still go out there and engage by talking to other people on their posts and going and engaging on their posts. So even if you are an introvert, there's no reason why you can't strike up digital conversations. Digital gives us that beautiful ability to be able to not have to speak, but we can type and still be human when we do that.
Good response. I've got to say, no, I think when it comes down to managing everything like I said, that when you're managing all these different roles, is there a way of prioritizing your customer experience? We've got to think of so many things. Myself, in fact, all three of us here, we're all sole traders, aren't we? We don't have people, well, apart from you, Esther, flipping overseas ninja that you are. But so at the end of the day, we've got to prioritize where this goes. Would this be up in the top 5 or up top 10, or would this be the most important thing in the world?
The most important thing. Without customers, you have nothing. So to have a company that doesn't even think about it, the problem is probably actually even just thinking about it as the terms. And unfortunately, we think about it as the terms because we have to term it something, like we have to term marketing, right? But experience is just everything about your business. So it's actually quite a natural thing when you're not kind of terming it as we must do customer experience. It is a part of what you do daily. There are lots of things you can do to design experiences specifically. And to, lots of different strategies and all kinds of different things. But, experiences, I think if you go out in the day and imagine that on a daily basis, as human beings, we have thousands of moments, right, on a daily basis. Like we're having a moment now. My phone here is going with notifications. Those are moments that I'll have when I come off this podcast. I'll go out and I'll talk to my postman and I'll have a moment there. We have 20,000 of them on a daily basis. So we're continually having moments and experiences with people, right? And I think when you get your brain into that thinking to know that actually, I need to really stand out amongst those 20,000 moments, it puts you in a place where you're naturally delivering more positive. naturally, you know, and that doesn't mean you have to be positive all the time. It just means that you go out there and you give your best self, you know. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Being positive 20,000 moments a day.
That's ridiculous, isn't it? I couldn't do that.
I'm going to switch off now. You know,
Yeah.
it's like book myself in somewhere to escape the world and close the door behind me. You know, it like, okay, so to avoid the overwhelm, what can people do? I mean, like you say, just start by being more positive about it.
Gin and tonic.
Then
No, do you know what? And when I say about being positive, I also think there's a thing like I also think there's like toxic positivity where you can be overly positive all the time, and that becomes toxic because it's not natural. So you've got to allow yourself to feel the emotions that you feel. And actually, if you're not feeling in the best set, don't put yourself out there whilst you're feeling like that. You know, it's not something you need to do. Take care of the customers that you're dealing with. And I think that, you know, we're always in this, we need new customers, we need new customers, we need new customers, while we're bleeding them out the bottom of the bucket at the other end. You know, if you're not feeling great, really take care of the customers that you've got. Don't worry about generating new customers all the time. Take care of your employees if you've got employees, and give yourself the time for yourself. Like, you know, you have to give yourself a good experience to be able to create a good experience. So take the pressure off and take what you need. Gin, chocolate, whatever you need.
Now, in fairness to our fair listeners here, you do not need to resort to alcohol.
No.
But, you know, we spoke only a couple of weeks ago, didn't we, Victoria, about customer experience, but we're doing it for the Irish Tech News podcast, which I
nice
also...
plug.
Yeah, sorry.
Nice plug.
I'm just everywhere, okay, guys? But, you know, and you gave us a wonderful example of how the boss gave good experience to their staff, but there's a new one that's recently come up. Would you like to share it?
Yeah, so this is a story about a guy who decided at the beginning of this week that he was going to give his staff a day off. So when everything opened back up, he gave his staff a day off so they could go and visit the pub. Let's not just talk about alcohol. So they could go and visit the pub. They could go and see their families. They could do everything that they've been deprived of doing for all of these months. And he gave them the day off, which is amazing, isn't it? You know, what an amazing example, and a great example to set as well. You know, for somebody to say, take the day off and go and do that. That's someone that really cares about their employees. And ultimately, your employee experience is your customer experience, because those are the people that deal with your customers.
That's a good point, actually, yeah.
If your employees are happy, they're going to take care of your customers. If your employees are unhappy, they're not going to give their best experience to your customers. So, you know, customer experience should always start with employee experience, because ultimately they're like a customer of your brand as well. They're experiencing you as a brand. So you need to give them a good experience. And you can guarantee that those staff, you know, when they got over their hangovers the following day, probably felt great about going into work for a brilliant boss that had given them that time off, right? Yeah.
And I suppose I remember that particular article. He encouraged them to go and spend money on the local economy as well, go shopping, go get some food and that sort of stuff, which is brilliant and supportive. But I know not everybody can afford to do that. You know, it's not easy doing that sort of thing, and I guess you've just got to work within your own boundaries, your own limits, and you know.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be a fully paid day off in the middle of the week or at the start of the week. It could be a nice little, you know, Christmas hamper or a bottle of gin. Everybody knows now that Vicky likes gin.
Send them to me.
But it can
going to be a wet Christmas for you, Victoria.
It can just be as simple as, you know, a smile.
Yes.
When they're coming in the door. Or coming onto a Zoom call as we're all still online, you know, smiling at your customers, smiling at your employees, you know.
Yeah. And
could change somebody's day.
It 100% can. And, I work with a company, they're a brilliant company, and they have a Zoom, well, throughout lockdown, they've had like a Zoom bar on a Friday night where employees come to the bar on a Friday, the virtual bar, and they just have a chinwag at the bar. They, they chat, they bring their drinks, and they just spend that time together. There's so many things that you can do that are either no cost or low cost. But it's just making people feel like they really matter to you, because, if you make them matter to you, then your brand will matter to them.
Actually, can you measure customer experience?
Do you have customers? Are you, yes. I mean, there's so many measurables in customer experience, and because it is so big, and because it comes into so many different elements, if you're talking solopreneur, entrepreneur, then that's probably just, you're monitoring it yourself based on the results you're getting. But as you get into, larger enterprise, it depends on the elements. Are you working with a human resource department? Are you looking at creating experience through your digital marketing? Is it through some physical structure that you've created? Is it a specific designed experience? It just depends on what you're measuring, because it is so vast. But yes, it is measurable. But I think if you say your listeners are relatively, small to medium businesses, are people happy with you? Are you creating a good experience? That. If you're creating a good experience with somebody. And, ask people. I used to do that. I used to say, can you tell me what I'm really bad at?
Really?
Yeah, because I want to know that. And I think we shy away from that. And I think we shy away from learning what our faults are. Social media gives us a bit of that kind of ego world that we're so used to. We think everything has to be so wonderful. But actually, I don't want to know what my best qualities are. I want to know what my worst ones are, because those are the ones that I can improve. So I think, knowing what those qualities are, and then doing something about them. So be open to asking for feedback, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, and then acting on it.
Yeah.
Would you? Sorry, carry on.
I would just say with the feedback, don't take it personally.
Yeah.
Because what one person perceives of you could be how they saw it in that moment. I mean, they might be having a bad day when they turn around and say, "Oh, you took 30 minutes to reply to my email when I needed a reply that instant." So it's all based on their perception. So don't just take one person's opinion.
Get a wide range of opinions. I put a post up on Instagram a few weeks ago saying that you should ask people in your network, people that don't really engage with you and people that do really engage with you. The people that like you or are indifferent to you or don't really engage with you. Go out and speak to them. Go out and ask them and say, do you know what? And I know we don't engage much on here, but I was wondering why that might be. You follow me. Is there something that I'm not providing for you? What can I do? And that'll give you, a lot of knowledge. Ask a wide range of people and just be open to the feedback. And like you say, don't take it personally.
So when you were saying getting information, do you mean like primary and secondary research sources? So maybe a focus group or surveys, or is that what you were talking about?
I think there's lots of different ways we can do that. There are focus groups, there's surveys. You can do it to your social audiences. I think sometimes I find that focus groups can be quite contrived because they are. And surveys as well, because you are specifically putting a survey in front of someone, right? So they're in the context of that, I've got to do this for a survey. Whereas if you're doing it in a social environment more naturally, it's more organic and people are more comfortable in their own social environments. So I think social is quite a good way to do it. And you probably get a better result from doing that than a specific, if you do a focus group or a Zoom group, come on Zoom and tell me how rubbish or how good I am. It's a bit of a weird thing to do, isn't it? You kind of go, but social, it's a good way to do it because it's natural and it's organic and people kind of go, yeah, people are happy to give opinion on social, aren't they?
Sometimes too happy. Yeah. Keyboard warriors all the way.
Oh God, I haven't heard that phrase for a long time.
They're still there. They're still there. So Victoria, if you could give us one example of a well-known brand who is doing this right. Are there any?
You.
Me. Yeah, do you know what? Like from brands, there's so many that do it well. I think like because your audiences are very social, like social and marketing, aren't they?
Yeah.
And I think probably a good brand that they'd be able to relate to is Innocent Smoothies, so Innocent Drinks.
Excellent.
They do it really well, and they do it really simply as well. You know, they create great experiences by just understanding the context and understanding people. You know, on Monday, I think it was, they put a tweet out and it went out on Monday. It was a brilliant tweet. And the tweet was, I'm just going to find it now because it was all gobbledygook and jumbled up. And it went out and it was brilliant. And it just said, it was like, I'm showing you ladies this now, but for anyone listening, they put all different words. And basically it was gibberish that kind of said, the pubs are open now, but if you don't want to get too drunk on a Monday, you could just have a smoothie. But it was all jumbled up, the words, as though they were drunk, right? It was great because it was like so bang on for their audience. It was so relatable to the context. It got people talking and they just create a great experience through really simple stuff, and they engage with people, they talk to people, they're a happy brand. So I think they're a really good example,
and very regular as well.
Yeah, they're great, they're consistent, and they go out and they talk to people. It's not just about them. They make it about people, which is really important.
Yeah. That I think that's one of the key points that everyone should take away. You know, it's not about you. It's not about any of us. It's about the people who are buying from you. And like you said earlier on, you know, if you focus on the customers that you already have, then others will automatically come because they will refer you to other people.
Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely. So you came to a realization earlier on that how people can call your name. Could you tell us how people should refer to you from now on?
It's so Victoria Taylor. Some people call me Vicky, and actually the brand is Victoria Tail UK. But one of my clients said to me, "It's Victoria Taylor." I was like, "Oh, I've never seen it like that before." So whenever he rings me now, he's like, "Hi, Victoria Taylor," and I'm like, "Hi." It's Victoria Tail UK. Victoria.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Victoria, or Vicky, or Victoria Tillich. We can call you anything. It's not too early in the morning. And it was great to have you on. And we will be looking out for all the great customer experiences.
And don't forget to do her download, her really brief 50-page download.
Go on, Victoria, give us your link.
Okay. It's Victoria Tail, so TAYL.UK.
So just Google Victoria Tillich and it should come up. Thanks very much again for joining us. We'll be back next week for more Monday Morning Marketing. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.